We haven't covered Ray Comfort video yet. I just noticed that. We've covered, I think, a bunch of those guys: Michael Behe, Stephen Meyer, um, David Berlinski, but not Ray Comfort. We haven't done any Ray Comfort videos. All right, well, hello, welcome everyone. Sorry we're late. Joining me today is our host and co-host, Peter of Gonna Go For It fame. Welcome.
And famous for being late, so we're now late. Yeah, my internet took a dump, and this was in the middle of me setting up the whole show for today. So yeah, that was fun. But I do want to thank the radio guy from the Titanic called Artemis Brain Sample for transmitting
Yes,
my
thanks.
my SOS messages to Jackson. So at least that worked. Oh,
Yep.
You are set.
And we have one of my editors, Nestlig, who is also joining us today. Welcome back.
Hello. Glad to be back.
Well, glad to have you. And as our fourth guest, our secret fourth guest, today we have the one and only Dapper Dinosaur.
Well, hello.
Who just recently crossed 10,000 subscribers.
That's true. That is true. I have crossed 10,000 subscribers. I'm now, I think, at 10,062. So there you go.
Woo! Nice job.
Only 7 more to go.
Only 7 more to go.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, fair enough, I guess.
Then I'll be at 10,069.
That's very true.
Yeah.
Very true.
That's the goal.
Well, it is an admirable goal, I would say.
Thank you.
So let's see. Last week we had Mutable on, and we talked. We finished watching that stupid Genesis Apologetics video, where it's like minute shorts all strung together, and each one has a really bad argument.
Genesis Apologetics put forth bad arguments?
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
My goodness, what is the world coming to?
And they put shorts in normal videos and then reposted them as shorts, which is also kind of insane. But
That's really annoying.
It's really creationist thing to do, right? To do things backwards. It's in line with everything else.
Shorts are mostly terrible. There's a reason that my channel has like 3 shorts on it total.
We've started to push our way into shorts over here. Funny enough, so our first one we did was for the Dodo's Tale, and it got middling views, only about 300, and so we were like, oh, whatever. Well, we just did the Elephant Bird's Tale, and that one jumped to 1,500 over the course of like a day.
Congrats.
Yeah.
We have no idea why.
The algorithm is a strange master. It just does what it wants.
If you post more shorts,
many comments were asking about the.
If you post more shorts, you're going to get more views. You're also going to get more recommendations for your channel for the regular videos. That's how this works. This is it's just set up. It's just set up because YouTube wants to push shorts. So if they give you a kind of benefit,
TikTok, huh?
They won't. Yeah.
If they give you a benefit, then you're going to go use shorts. And then I still don't see the reason, because why make shorts if you can make 1-minute videos? Why create an entirely new concept for all of this other than annoy TikTok, which probably going to go away anyway,
or be bought by Google, and then they'll be owned by the same parent company, and then they'll both just be shorts. So
I mean. It's going to be banned anyway, and in the Netherlands, no government official can use TikTok anymore. In several states in the US, it's the same thing, because apparently
I think it's for if you're
they like your
under
privacy
18, though.
Stuff and sell it.
I think it's if you're under 18, you can't use it. I don't think it's.
I don't
think it's outright banned. In
the Netherlands it's outright banned. In some of the states in the US too, because they illegally sell your private information, which,
as opposed to all the other companies in the US that do that, like Facebook.
They do it the nice way,
and Amazon,
American way.
Isn't like I have heard, I don't know how true this is, but I've heard that like the company like Roombas sell like the floor plan data of your house based on like where it goes, so it maps out your floor plan and then they can sell that, which I don't know if that's true because I mean I imagine that people already have access to your floor plans because
Mm.
those are like public records, aren't they?
Mm.
I don't know. But anyways,
Well,
so
one thing that I found funny about the elephant birds short was about
Mhm.
elephant birds, but every commenter was like asking about the terror birds.
yes, everyone wanted to know about the forest forest
For-
racids, forest racids. I don't know how to pronounce it.
It's a
I
weird
say
word.
I say forest rackidae.
Forest
That's how I
rackidae.
pronounce
Yeah,
it. Yeah.
but yeah, everyone was
Yeah.
asking about those. They were like, "Oh, are these guys related to the forest rackidae?" Like, no, not really.
Well, they
That-
are related, just
I
not very
mean,
closely.
Yeah, not. What group? Speaking of, well, since Dapper, you're here. What group are the forest rackids related to?
I
Do you
mean,
happen
I
to
know.
so they're neo-avians, right? And
Yes.
I believe their closest relatives are the Sariamas of South America that are still alive right
Ye-
now.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So
And the Seriema is also like it can still fly, but it's mostly ground dwelling. Like it just walks on the ground most of the time. The Seriema.
I've seen some stuff about like Gastornis or Diatrima, whichever one is correct. That like they were probably herbivorous. They were using their beaks for like crushing like branches and stuff. How does that hold up, or is that
as far as I know, for Diatrima, that's still the current best
okay?
conclusion. I was going to say best guess, but it's not really a guess. However,
Hypothesis, yeah.
hypothesis.
Yeah.
Is that also the case for the terror birds, or are they still thought to be like they were
No, they're
carnivorous?
still pretty confidently.
Pretty
Okay.
predatory. Yeah. And it's also
Okay.
like I think you have probably seen the Walking with Beast documentary series.
Yeah.
And the Gastornis is depicted as a predatory bird.
Yeah,
but,
it hunted
I
the
think-
Hyracotherium. Yeah.
Yes, but I think like they have analyzed the beak shape, and most predatory birds have like the hook at the end of the beak, like most raptorial birds have to peel off the flesh. And
Right.
Gastornis did have that, so it's probably was not meat eating, at least not specialized. Maybe it was like at best it could have been an omnivore.
Okay.
Yeah, but
I
it
gotcha.
wasn't specialized as a meat eater. No, probably not.
Okay, that's cool. Oh, in the side chat here, we got Bent Hoven, no relation, TD Lane, Heket, Nan, Trudy Stubbs, and Jamie E. Welcome, everybody. Oh, and Cherubim Angel. Welcome, everybody. Glad to have all of you. All y'all, as we say down here in the South. I don't say y'all. I don't say it. But a lot of people do. So let's see. So we were watching Genesis Apologetics last week, and
Jackson,
one of the
Jackson,
shorts.
one quick question. What's the difference? What's the difference
Yes.
between y'all and all y'all? See, I thought
don't
so.
know.
I think all y'all is a bit redundant. All
I
y'all
thought
is
so.
redundant.
I feel like here's my defense of all y'all. I feel like y'all is like a couple people, but all y'all is a group of people. That's my that's my explanation. I cannot be questioned. All right, so so we're watching Genesis Apologetics, and most of their arguments have like some basis in other creationist literature. Like we've heard some form of it before. Like they mentioned the Western Interior Seaway, just not by name. And if you didn't know about like the literature or the creationist argument, maybe you wouldn't know what that is, what they're referring to. But since we are all unfortunately terminally online, we all knew what they were talking about. But there was one instance they gave where I just had absolutely no idea what they were referring to, and that was the short where Jamie E is correct. All y'all has more emphasis than just y'all. Yes. That was the short where they said parrots, flamingos, penguins, avocets, and a bunch of other extant modern birds were found with dinosaurs. And they said they were found across multiple states, including 3 countries. Now, I had no idea what that was in reference to at all. I was just completely baffled by it. I've actually found the article that they were referencing. It turns out they misinterpreted. I know, big shock, right? They misinterpreted an article from Creation Ministries International, which is titled "Modern Birds Found with Dinosaurs" by Don Batten, in which he lists all of the birds that they rambled off: parrots, penguins, owls, sandpipers, albatross, flamingos, loons, ducks, cormorants, and avocets. But they weren't from the same formation. For one
Didn't they
thing,
also mispronounce avocets?
I don't remember.
Because I
Is that
remember
not-
responding to the same claim and then having trouble finding what the heck they were talking about until I realized, oh, they mean avocets. They just can't say it.
What did
Maybe?
they say then?
I don't remember. I
thought they
remember.
said something like abacets or something ridiculous like that. And I had to like,
I don't know. I
No.
don't remember.
Okay,
But
maybe.
they so what they were referring to this article because this is where they got their list. This is really the only thing I can find that matches close enough to that. In which they said they claim that modern birds have been found with non-avian dinosaurs back in the Cenozoic. Well, we just did a video about this very topic like a couple weeks ago, the elephant bird's tail. But now we have Dapper Dinosaur on to discuss it.
Hello.
So, give us your thoughts. We also have some Nestle brought some slides, so we can go through those and we can sort of suss this out. And then after we're done discussing this, we also have some long story short if you want to join us for that. So,
Ooh.
Jeez.
it's the and I picked this one specifically for you because it's like something to the effect of is antibiotic resistance evolution or something like that.
Oh my
So-
Oh,
god.
no.
Which we did Jackson with Jackson a while back, so I figured you'd enjoy this. You'd appreciate it.
We'll see how I'm doing after the Genesis
All right.
Apologetics nonsense.
All right, so let's. I guess we'll just dive right into that. So do we want to pull up the slides and Dapper can. So Dapper, give us your thoughts on that the claim that modern birds are found with non-avian dinosaurs.
So no modern genera or species are found with any non-avian dinosaurs. However, we do know that there are some examples of modern groups. So
Mhm.
we know that coming out of the KPG, paleonates, Galloanseri, and probably actually even separate out into Galliformes and Anseriformes. That's the waterfowl and the groundfowl. And also neoaves. And together, the Galloanseri and the neoaves together make neonates. So those four groups probably came out as having already separated back in the Cretaceous. So you would have seen things that looked a bit like tinamous, or that looked a little bit like ducks or chickens, or maybe some kind of like a basal neoavian is sort of hard to find, but probably something a little bit like a songbird. Not very much though, but still. Because you got to remember that neoavians includes just a ridiculous amount of diversity. It includes all the owls, all the eagles, vultures, the seriamas. So I mean,
Although I have seen a recent paper that like proposes that all the ancestors of modern birds that survived the extinction event were probably ground-dwelling seed eaters like that, and that's how they survived. They survived by eating seeds, basically.
It's certainly a potentially viable hypothesis. I wouldn't say that I'm gonna, necessarily say, oh yeah, that's definitely what happened, but it does line up with the fact that most of the other things that escaped the extinction were relatively small and either ground-dwelling or aquatic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and in the slide that we are showing right now, this is the probably a very common misconception that what you have is dinosaurs in the Mesozoic, and then the extinction event, and only one type of dinosaur survived, and that became the birds. But of course, that's actually not.
That's the Fiducia view, the Alan Fiducia view, which we discussed in the elephant bird's tail.
Yeah. Really, what should be happening is there should be some birds mixed in the Mesozoic that then carry on through into the Cenozoic.
And then we can move on to the next slide. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, we discussed Alan Feducci's view of like no neowaves in the Cretaceous verse, which was based on like the paleontological evidence back in like the 90s versus the genetic evidence. And so the geneticists were like, oh, well, molecular clocks put birds, or, crown birds, like into the early Cretaceous. And so there was that disconnect there. And now they're kind of pushed more into the late Cretaceous. Oh, so go ahead.
Yeah, yes, exactly. There was like a few decades ago, there were no crown birds known in the Cretaceous, but then when they did like a molecular clock analysis, as you said, that it suggests that the birds got an ancestor, the last common ancestor of all living birds lived in the Cretaceous. But of course, there's a disconnect between the fossils and the molecular data. But then that gap is now being reduced. Like now we know some crown bird of the Cretaceous. But yeah, this story has two main parts. First, we need to know exactly what a bird is.
What is a woman? What is a bird?
What is Oh no! Let's continue.
I was thinking the same thing. Sorry, they have problems with definitions.
Yeah. I actually saw there was a guy who came into my work recently, and he had a shirt that had that on it, and I was like, ugh. I shivered.
And then the next question is: did birds coexist with dinosaurs? Yes. However, then we can go over some of the examples that the creationists claim: parrots, penguins, owls, and such. All right, we can go to the next slide. Yeah.
What you're saying is, did dinosaurs coexist with dinosaurs? That's a weird question.
No.
No.
Incorrect. How ridiculous for you to assume that.
So in the literature, there are two main definitions of birds that are used. There's a broad definition, which is equivalent to the term aviale, and that includes like basically both the modern birds and also their extinct relative, like Archaeopteryx and the Enantiornithines, or the Enantiorniths.
Yeah, however you pronounce it.
Yeah, I haven't pronounced it yet. They are also called the opposite bird. I don't know exactly why they are opposite. Like one muscle goes the other way, right? Dapper.
It's like one of their shoulder bones, isn't it?
So what happens is that in aves or Neornithes, they have this pulley system where the upstroke muscles actually attach down by the sternum, and so because this then loops, this muscle is the supracoracoideus muscle, and it loops over this coracoid process, it is able to pull the wings up despite being attached lower than the wing. Whereas in Enantiornithines, the upstroke muscle attaches where you might expect it to, above the wings, so that's their how they upstroke.
Yeah.
So it's basically, does the upstroke muscle do the normal thing, or does it do the weird thing that modern birds do?
So this is actually a weird suggestion. It suggests that the Enantiornithines have evolved the upstroke like a specialized upstroke independently from the modern birds, or not. I'm not sure.
So I'm not sure if we have enough fossil data to really say the exact path that that like crown birds went through in this. However, I will say that upstroke muscles, or the muscles that would extend the arm up in more basal coelurosaurs, tend to attach above the arm, which is the more normal condition. So I would expect that this would be, if we ever get enough fossils to really make a good guess, I would say that this would probably be something that evolved later on. Now, where it went, I don't know. Like, is it in Ornithoromorpha? Is it Ornithore? Is it in aves? I don't know.
Yeah, but still, the Enantiornithines were the predominant type of birds that you would have seen in the Cretaceous, like the crown.
Correct.
There were crown, as you can see in the second definition, the more narrow definition is the crown group definition, which is equivalent to the aves or the neorniths new birds, basically. That's what the neorniths mean.
I'm a strict crown group, stem group person. I really don't like when we include like, all these extinct taxa as like as being, or which are like, less derived relative to the extant members of some group, and we're like, okay, these guys are also included.
I tend to agree.
I'm like,
So I tend to agree, but I also recognize that bird is not a technical term, and that
sure,
that battle has basically been lost. Everyone is going to keep calling Archaeopteryx a bird.
That's true. Yeah.
So it just means that when I say bird, I have to then say what I mean by bird is, and then I can go ahead and say crown birds, or I can pick a more or less narrow. Like I can say what I mean by bird here is birds broadly, as in all of aviale, anything like Archaeopteryx or more close to a modern bird than that. Or I can say I'm speaking strictly.
Yeah, and as you can see from the slide that I've given here, there are at many different points in the phylogeny, you see these very bird-like traits appearing at different nodes. Like first, like you see the pygostyle, which basically that like the little like birds don't have tails anymore; they only have like a little pygostyle. And that's what
the Parsons nose or whatever.
Yeah, that's what Archaeopteryx lacked. So, and also if you move further out, you can see the carpometacarpus, and then you can see the tail fan and the tarso metatarsus and such. So it becomes like you have a long checklist of traits, and
it's a bird or it's not a bird. Obviously,
and it's arbitrary to decide how many traits you need to say. Oh, now it's a bird. It's arbitrary.
Insert the Bodhi Hodge quote that Archaeopteryx is just a perching bird, and no amount of paleobabble is going to change that.
Oh no, that's an Alan Fiducia quote that Bodhi likes to mimic.
That's true. Which I mean, Alan Fiducia is also ridiculous. Like I mentioned him. I was actually hesitant to even mention his name in the Elephant Bird's Tale. It's like, I know he was big in paleoornithology in like the 80s and 90s. But like today, it's like,
it's a pariah. Basically, So. But of course, the opposing helix of Archaeopteryx was actually if I'm not mistaken, it was an artifact of taphonomy, right? Like it was not actually opposed. Yeah.
Yep. Archaeopteryx had a pretty normal theropod dewclaw for its digit 1 on its petties.
Yeah, okay. And I borrowed the notes from Thomas Holt's lecture, GL 104, with these traits that these traits appeared at different nodes on the phylogeny, and you can see if you see at the Ornithoraces, basically the common ancestor of modern birds and the enantiornithines. That's when the opposing helix appeared, and that allowed these birds or stem birds and mother birds to perch. Basically, and I think many enantiornithines were like also like nesting, like inferred to have been nesting in trees as well, or maybe not all of them, but many of them. Yeah.
So once you get the ability to perch, it means that you largely don't have to come to the ground much more than just to get any ground-based food that you need, which means there's no real good reason to be a ground nester because ground nesting is very dangerous. Almost anyone can get at your eggs on the ground. Now, granted, lots of terrestrial animals can still get at your eggs in a tree, but you've still cut out all the animals that don't like to climb trees, which is a significant number of animals.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you move down one step and at the Euornithines or the Euorniths, you can see you have the appearance of the tail fan, but basically if you see at the Confuciusornis, they have this long ribbon-like tails, but they cannot manipulate them to control flight. But the Euorniths can. They have this tail fan that they can use to control during flight, and that also allowed the loss of these long leg feathers that Archaeopteryx also had. Archaeopteryx had these long leg feathers, probably used to stabilize flying or gliding, perhaps.
Kind of like and Microraptor, which is a basally derived dromaeosaur, also had leg feathers for stabilizing gliding.
Yes. So, and with the appearance of the tail fan, those stabilizing leg feathers were no longer needed, so they can have more efficient flying, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then going down even further, you see the appearance of a deeply keeled sternum, so very active flying. Although some of them, like for example Hesperornis, they went to the ocean and they lost flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were also
And,
very big birds.
Yes, Hesperornis were pretty big. Yeah.
Big boys.
Big boys, but and they were like they had very little, like for example, penguins swim with their wings, but Hesperornis mainly swam with their feet. I think, yeah, they
Yes.
didn't have many.
They had
They didn't
very
have
enlarged
much-
feet
yeah.
and reduced wings, which is actually not that unusual. Basically, wing-driven swimming or foot-driven swimming are the two big sort of strategies. And actually, foot-based swimming is pretty common. Like grebes do it. All Anseriformes, so like that's ducks, geese, swans, all those guys. They all basically
Cormorants.
Cormorants do, yes, as well as anhingas and other members of that larger like superfamily. So yeah, it's actually not that uncommon to find foot-based swimming among aquatic birds.
Yeah, and the commonality between Hesperornis and the modern bird group is that you have the appearance of a toothless premaxilla, although Hesperornis still had a maxilla that contained teeth, and but when you move down to the crown group of birds, the modern group, now you see the entire loss of teeth. Yeah.
It was actually predicted that Ichthyornis, because the Ichthyornis would have teeth, because the body was found before the head was, and so I've read a couple of like articles from like the late 1800s on Ichthyornis, and they were predicting like, okay, since it was found in the Mesozoic, it likely had teeth, and surely enough, it did have teeth. I thought it was kind of cool.
And also Ichthyornis, like I forgot to mention that Ichthyornis, as also at the node called Carinate, where you have also an extensively fused pelvis, like the sacrum fused to the iliac blades, and also the pubis fused to the I think also to the ilium, like a very very fused pelvis, many fusion places.
Fewer moving parts to make flight easier.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, it basically allows the pubis to become less substantial. So if you look at a modern bird pelvis, most of the bones are like paper thin. You can shine a light right through them.
They're paper thin, you say?
Well, I mean, I'm speaking metaphorically here, but bird pelvises, generally speaking, like especially for smaller birds. Like, granted, if you're looking at a big ground bird like an ostrich or something, this is going to be less the case. But yeah, modern birds have strong pelvises primarily because of this fusion, and what they do to make up this is because they are compensating in many cases for weight reduction by just making the bones thinner. So like if you take a songbird pelvis, you can see like a candle light through it if you hold it up to a candle. Like it's very, very thin.
Yeah, I was just referencing Nephilim Freeze paper thin strata.
Yes.
That's what I thought of when you said paper thin. I saw TD in there earlier. I guess he's gone, but I thought he would have appreciated that. So
yeah,
or Colton,
But yeah, so as a rule, avian pelvises are very, very, very thin. Like I said, granted, there are exceptions. Big ground-dwelling birds and flightless birds tend to have thicker ones. So
yeah.
And in the modern group, you see the premaxilla is pretty much the entire upper jaw. They almost lost all of their the maxillae basically, and also they have lost all of the teeth in both the upper jaw and the lower jaw. And as I mentioned before, the ancestors were by some researchers they are inferred to have been eating seeds and ground dwelling, these early ancestors of birds. And as shown here, the common ancestors of the living birds, they were in the Cretaceous. I add, like in the gray bars, I added some ranges of molecular date estimates from the citation that you can see here, the source.
Right.
Yeah. So and also I have added 2 examples of crown bird fossils. You have Vergavis, and also
I actually got to meet the paleontologist who found Vegavis. That was Dr. Julia Clark. She's a cool lady. Yeah, she was also the lady who found that Microraptor had the melanosomes in its feathers that made it like iridescent black.
So the iridescence actually doesn't come from the melanosomes. It comes from the microstructure of the actual fibers on the feather themselves.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so bird iridescence, as well as most blue pigment blue colored birds, it's actually structural color. So what happens is because light has different wavelengths of light come in, obviously different wavelengths. What that means is that they will interfere in different ways against objects that have a similar size to those wavelengths. It's sort of like if you think about it like your microwave, right? Like you can heat up a cup of water in your microwave. But interestingly, if you put like a fly in your microwave, it won't heat up. A fly will be just fine. That's because it's too small to interact with those microwaves. Similarly, if light hits certain structures that are very, very small, because all the wavelengths for light are very relatively small, at certain distances, it will actually then scatter back light at particular wavelengths. So what happens is that at certain extreme angles, the feathers from Microraptor that we knew were black from the melanosomes would have then reflected back greenish or bluish light at extreme angles, making them iridescent. And that's also what happens with any bird that has blue feathers. So like we have a peacock that's on the screen here. Those feathers actually have yellow pigments that are melanin based, but they have microstructures in the feathers that actually scatter back yellow light, or not yellow light, the green light, so that when they combine, it actually looks blue to your eyes.
Fun fact also about Vegavis is it was found on the island Vega is like right by Antarctica. So Dr. Clark does like Antarctic paleontology, which is kind of wild.
That is paleontology I will let other people do. Thank you very much.
Well, same for like Tiktaalik, absolutely groundbreaking discovery, but in the Arctic Circle of Canada.
Yeah,
like,
look, there's a reason I live in one of the hottest places that people have ever set up shop.
Yeah.
And in the 4th sunniest city in the entire world.
Yeah.
It goes Yuma, someplace in Egypt, Phoenix, and then where I am.
Yeah.
And there was also a fairly recent discovery of Asterionis. You can see besides Vergavis. And Vergavis and Asterionis are inferred to have been relatives of the group that includes the Anseriforms and the Galliforms. I showed one phylogenetic relationships. Like some researchers put Vergavis more basal. Like right now it's shown as a stem Anseriform, but Vergavis can also sometimes be placed as a stem Galle Anseri, Galle basically a more basal position, similar to the Asterionis. Yeah.
Okay.
There is some, of course, there's always some uncertainty of precise placement of these phylogenies. Yeah, but there is a consensus that the Asterionis and Vergavis are crown birds. They are more closely related to the neonates than they are to the paleonates. That's pretty much most papers are in agreement on that. I believe. Yeah.
Okay.
Interesting though, the paleonate condition. So the big difference anatomically between paleonates and neonates is that neonates have more cranial kinesis, which means that they can move the bones in their jaw relative to each other, which is itself a derived trait among dinosaurs. Most dinosaurs did not really have any significant amount of cranial kinesis, not more than most mammals do, which is to say, essentially none. But some recent studies have actually been suggesting that the basal condition to AVs might actually be the neonate condition with lots of cranial kinesis, and that paleonates may have actually derived their relative lack of craniokinesis as an adaptation to strengthening the jaw and the skull as a whole. And so they like lost that particular trait and reverted to what seems like a more primitive trait, but is actually like a secondarily derived lack of craniokinesis. Now, that is not something that has like taken over the entire consensus. That is just currently what some recent papers have been suggesting.
Yeah.
So take that with a grain of salt. But it is something that has been proposed of late, and it looks like it's gaining some traction in terms of like possible models for bird evolution, which would also then raise the question: well, like, are we missing something with like Hesperornithines or Ichthyornithines? Did they have more craniokinesis than we thought? And if not, then shouldn't we expect something basal to crown birds to have craniokinesis? Should we expect to find that fossil? Should we be looking for it? I don't know.
Yeah, I think also like I think the researchers who proposed that the ancestors of the modern birds were seed eating also point to craniokinesis, because with the mobility of the skull, that you can manipulate your food better with when you can make you have craniokinesis. So it's maybe it's a very interesting hypothesis. Yeah.
Oh, by the way, since Chad is talking about this a bunch, I should probably clarify that when I said flies, I mostly meant things like fruit flies or gnats, not like big ol' house flies, not Mus domestica. We're talking more like Drosophila type flies.
Okay.
So, very, very small animals.
Yeah.
No animals were harmed in the making of this show.
Not Mus domestica, Musca domestica. What am I talking about? I know my binomials, he said.
Yeah.
And trinomials and polynomials.
Ooh, nah. Polynomials can go factor themselves. I don't care.
Fair enough.
And I've shown also some of the modern groups of birds, like you can see first on the top is the paleonates, where you have the emus, the ostriches, and the kiwi birds. And yeah, I've also added the Livornis, which is an early member of this group, which is inferred to have been still flying. So there we go. Yeah, but there are no. I don't believe we have any example of a paleonate or a stem paleonate from the Mesozoic. Although they are inferred to have diverse.
Yeah, molecular studies confirm very strongly that they diverged in the Cretaceous. However, we actually lack obvious paleonate fossils even well into the Paleogene.
Yes, yeah.
Which is not the same thing for Galloancerae. There are actually some very late, like end Cretaceous Galloanceriforms that seem like, this is probably somewhere within Galloancerae.
Yeah, like Vergavis is also a good example of that. Yes, Galloanceriforms. Yeah.
Do I say A that often? Is that a thing I say very often? A?
I don't think so.
Apparently, Trudy Stubbs says drinking game. The other ones make sense, but I don't. I say A?
You say a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. I guess when you put it that way, yeah. I guess I kind of do. All right. I was like, I was thinking like, A. What you do?
All
right. Okay. That's fair. I didn't think of it like that, but all right. Fair enough.
Yeah.
You got me.
But not a lot, I would say, but just sometimes. Anyway,
that's the trick for a drinking game rule, right? It has to come up enough that it's a relatively regular occurrence, but not so much
that you get alcohol poisoning.
Right, exactly. So that's the trick. You can't just pick the most common thing. It's like if you're trying to do like the Star Trek drinking show, don't just say like anytime someone sits down, because you're just going to be drunk in 5 minutes. That's why you go with like anytime the helm is failing to respond, because that happens like once or twice an episode. So you're going to get it. But like it's not going to like kill you.
Sure.
Can't Hovind ending a sentence with okay.
Yeah, no, that would be way too much.
Yeah, he goes, okay.
All
right, we ready?
Yes. The next group that I've shown is a very interesting extinct group, the Pelagornithidae, and one of the famous members is the
I think we went the wrong way.
You've moved on to the next.
Peter, I think. Yeah. Okay. Wait. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. And the Pelagornis is like an extinct. This group is also called the false-toothed birds because they have like serrations in their beak. that make them look like they have teeth,
Which-
but they don't have actual teeth. No,
Which
yeah.
would probably convince the AIG that they did in fact have teeth, because apparently they think the little
Mhm.
filaments in the mouths of penguins are actual teeth, even though they're
I've also heard them claim that the sawtooth hummingbird has teeth, when in fact it has beak serrations.
That's
Yeah.
Like,
that's
what is
amazing.
What is a nectivore going to be using teeth for, guys? Like, come on.
He's like shredding flowers. I don't know,
It's
like a chainsaw, you know.
the vicious sawtooth hummingbird. Like, yeah, okay.
He like cuts down flowers at their stems, you know. I don't know.
I've talked to
Yeah, no, it's
I've
kind of
talked to
it's
enough
kind of insane.
young Earth creationists
That
to know
hummingbird
that
woke up one day.
tooth-like
Screw commensalism,
structures.
I choose violence.
Yeah, I've talked to enough young Earth creationists to know that tooth-like structures are teeth.
Yeah, anything that's kind of pokey and in the mouth, definitely a tooth. That's how it works.
Yes.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, they think Archaeopteryx was just a perching bird, so
Which
that, like,
couldn't even perch.
which right, one could not perch. Two, that put it like among the passerines. You know, like
Chickadee, Archaeopteryx, what's the difference?
yeah, your house sparrow. It's pretty much Archaeopteryx. I mean, they're
Yeah,
basically the same thing.
Yeah.
There is no need for any further. Okay, the buzzer sound. I do the buzzer sound a lot. That's very true. That's very
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then the last remaining modern groups are the anti-anseriforms, where you have the duck, swans, and geese. And then the next is the galliforms, where you have the chickens, your pheasants, and your peacocks and such. And then the neo-aves are which is basically any bird you have seen in your life is a neo-avian, because neo-avian is a huge group.
Yeah, it includes, I mean, penguins, eagles, vultures,
nearly
every
everything
songbird
we listed earlier.
Yeah, basically,
almost all birds. Yeah, like
Grackles,
95% of all species of birds are there. Yeah,
It's kind of like when people talk about, like, you know, when they say fish, they're almost certainly talking about ray-finned fish, because there's like 6 whole species of lobe-finned fish. You know?
There's way more species of lobe-finned fish, he said, as a lobe-finned fish.
Okay, I mean, yeah, like fish that are still fishy, right? Guys that are still fishy.
We are here to cladistics in this house, Jackson.
Yeah, you're right. That's true. All right. We ready for the next one?
Yeah, we are ready for the next.
There's a cuckoo on there. Or wait, no, that's a kookaburra. There's a kookaburra on there. Nice job.
We actually got to see some of those at the Memphis Zoo. I got to interact with some.
I did not add a kookaburra.
Well, then what am I seeing that looks like a kookaburra?
Did you just make this whole slide?
Yes.
You're gonna have to tell me how you did that, because that's kind of amazing.
It's on PowerPoint.
This looks extremely good.
What bird am I seeing that's below the flamingo to the right a little bit?
That's the kingfisher.
Okay.
Like the blue one, the little blue one beside the owl and next to the hummingbird. I think that's the kingfisher that you are referring to. The kingfisher.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that is also one very popular bird in the Netherlands too. The kingfisher. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, it's pretty rare, of as you can imagine. But anyway, we can move on to the next slide. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. And then I squished all of the birds down to make room for their relatives, to show how long
like
they
proportional.
have coexist.
Okay,
how it is.
I have to point out, kookaburras are kingfishers. So.
Oh really? Oh yeah.
Yeah, they are an Australian group of kingfishers.
So you did not make the confusion by accident. They actually are in the same group.
Yeah, they're in the same family, I believe. Because I believe it's a family, and it's got almost worldwide distribution. It's ridiculous. Kingfishers are freaking everywhere.
The ceratosaur has a top hat. I love that.
Yeah, I thank you.
that.
Thank you for noticing the Easter egg that I added there.
Dapper, I don't know if you saw our last episode, but Peter made the TV in the Genesis Apologetics classroom. It had our logo on it.
Very nice.
Yeah. So.
It's not only it wasn't only the logo. It was animated as well. It was literally
right, yeah.
the background with your logo on it.
That's pretty cool. We're using version 2 of the Saurian T-Rex that may or may not ever be actually implemented into that game that may or may not ever actually finish.
I actually explained
see...
today to one of my managers how if Ornithocelida is true, sauropods aren't dinosaurs. So
Yep, no, it's true.
Yep. Sorry, go ahead, Nestle.
Oh no worries. You can just interrupt me when you whenever you want. But the main message of this slide is that to point out that both the crown group of birds and the avialans, shown in yellow, they coexisted with the dinosaurs, and there is no contradiction. Like it's the same. It's the same logic as the why are there still monkeys thing? No, they are cousins, and they have coexisted.
They say that about mammals too, don't they? They're like, oh, how can mammals be found with dinosaurs? Because they were at the same time.
Yeah, because mammals crown mammals evolved in the Jurassic, buddy.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as RJ likes to point out, creationists completely lack a map of time, right? So their conception of like the quote, like the evolutionist timescale, they don't know when major events happened.
Right. That's why Genesis Apologetics can get away with pretending that the mainstream view is that every dinosaur fossil in the entire world was killed directly by the Chicxulub impactor.
Yeah, that's just bonkers.
Which is just like, what are you talking about?
Well, that means that you survived for a lot longer than it's shown here.
Apparently. Well, the thing is, it doesn't mean anything because they can't understand what any of that means.
Yeah. They have their perspective has no depth. They don't
really
know
doesn't.
about deep stuff.
Yeah,
deep time goes nowhere.
Which is funny because these are the people who are like, we're going to overturn the consensus in like all scientific fields,
right?
And they have such little regard for any like even like commonly known science, right? Like I feel like it's pretty common knowledge that not all dinosaur fossils resulted from the KPG extinction event. I feel like that's pretty common knowledge.
Like there's like 100 or like 200 million years or so somewhere in there that dinosaurs were hanging out, and then maybe that's not one instant in time.
Yeah. No, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But I also showed like one of the only living relative of birds, the crocodilians, and they are united by with the birds as archosaurs. Although I did not show the grouping of archosaurs, but I did show
the fourth trochanter on the and stuff like that. Yeah,
that is one of the things.
Yes,
that's the one I remember offhand. I don't remember the other ones.
You don't remember the mandibular fenestra?
Oh, that's right.
Yes, I think so. Yeah, like extra holes in the skull too. Yeah,
they get a lot of fenestrae.
Yeah, and also I think like the end orbital, not the end orbital, the post orbital fenestra. I think like in front of the eyes. They've also holes.
That would be antorbital. Antorbital would be the
end orbital. Yeah, the end.
Post orbital fenestrae are actually just common to.
Exactly.
Like Sauropsida, basically. As diapsids, which is what all modern reptiles are, they ancestrally have two post-orbital fenestrae. However, in birds, they're actually merged. The bit of bone between them does not actually connect together, so they actually only visibly have one post-orbital fenestra, which is similar superficially to the condition in lizards, where they've lost the inferior temporal fenestra, and so they only have the superior temporal fenestrae. Although, if you actually look at the bones, like if you take a look at which individual bones are making up the margins of these fenestrae, you'll actually find out that they're different bones, meaning that both in terms of embryology and in terms of evolutionary development through time, these are actually fundamentally different processes to get you to a single fenestra behind the orbits.
They got fenestrae coming out of their ears. Is what you're saying?
Well, no, because their ears actually aren't bordered by all bones.
They have fenestra for days.
Fenestra for days, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, many theropods had an extra one. They had the promaxillary fenestra, which is in front of the antorbital fenestra. Because, hey, why bother with like 8 fenestrae when you could have 10 in your skull?
Very true. Yeah. Why not?
Yeah.
buy
in
2
the-
get 4 free. I don't know.
And in the Pseudosuchian lineage of the crocodilians, I added like 2 examples of the Triassic. It's difficult to see, but I added the
Oh,
Postosuchus
Postosuchus, yeah.
and an Iodosaur as well.
Okay.
Just to and also in the Jurassic, I added some of the Thalattosuchians. Yes.
Nice.
I could not add more because it would be way too much, but just to show that the crocodilian evolution is way too much than people are familiar with. Yeah.
I'm personally very disappointed that there are no Sphenosuchians.
Oh,
You can't have it all,
sorry.
Dapper. You already got
sorry.
your top hat Ceratosaur in there.
That's true. That is great. Although, come on, man, Sphenosuchians are great. They're just awesome. They're evolution.
Nestle.
Like, hey, what if we made a cat, but we made it out of a crocodile, and then you get Sphenosuchians?
Nestle, I do miss
What'd you say, Peter?
one Easter egg. You should have given the crocodilian a halo, because there's currently one going viral for defeating God, having a virgin birth. I mean, should have referenced that. You didn't know about that?
Yeah, there was an example of a parthenogenic cluster of eggs with one embryo that was not viable from a what is it, Crocodilus alatus, I believe.
There was one crocodile giving birth, while being just by itself. It's gone viral.
I mean, there are lots of parthenogenetic amniotes out there. Everyone loves a Spitacilus uniparens, the desert whiptail lizard.
Oh,
so apparently
it was crocodiles.
So apparently the crocodilian saw Jurassic Park and says, I have an idea.
Yeah.
So, well, we should also note that while this is the first observed instance of a clutch of eggs with an actual embryo being laid parthenogenically by a crocodilian, also none of the eggs hatched.
Okay.
I don't think that's...
There was one embryo in the clutch, and it
may
did not actually survive to hatch.
I don't know. So what I saw in the papers here in the Netherlands is that they compared the offspring with the mother, and it was 99.9% identical to the mother. I'm not sure.
They did that with the embryo.
Right,
okay.
They did that with the embryo that didn't hatch.
Yeah.
I didn't have time because for some reason my internet cut out.
But similar instances have been noted in birds, making this a potentially like Archosaurian trait. And also, more successful examples of parthenogenesis are known throughout basically lizards. Like numerous snakes can undergo parthenogenesis. There are actually entire species of lizards. Some of the species of lizards around here are whiptails, and whiptail lizards basically don't have males. They're all asexual.
The Spitacilus uniparens.
Yeah. So
they are the and then there's the line from JBS Haldane that like rotifers, who are also who reproduce some reproduce parthenogenically are an evolutionary scandal, because typically parthenogenesis among animals is usually like it'll be like the members of a genus, but it doesn't typically rise above the genus. But with rotifers, you have an entire class, which is Deloidea, and they all do parthenogenesis, which is whack for animals. Yeah.
All right. Just to move things on, the next group is the Ornithodira, which includes all of these except for the Pseudosuchians. It also includes the pterosaurs and the dinosaurs, and they are characterized by having the S-shaped neck of birds, also the ankle, the metatarsal ankle that also birds have, and an upright parasitical stance as well. Yeah.
Okay.
And yes, and I also added a little like at the beginning of the pterosauromorphs, I added a logopedid because like the recent studies have shown that logopedids are like stem pterosaurs. Yeah.
Yes, that has been the some recent studies coming out with logopedids, and they were always known to be sort of like basal ornithodirans, but like whether or not they were closer to Dinosauria or Pterosauria was always like who knows. But yeah, no, it looks like they're pterosauromorphs, not dinosauromorphs. So take that,
Okay.
dinosaurs.
Boom,
But
losers.
dinosaurs still get stylosaurs, so
That's true.
Yes. Yeah.
And like Marasuchus, isn't that one of them?
Yeah, Marasuchids, yeah.
And then the dinosaur group shown in as a red dot, they are characterized like among many other traits, are characterized by bipedality and a perforate acetabulum or an open hip socket.
As Dapper
And also-
has
yeah.
shown creationists, because who was it who said like there are no theropods with an open acetabulum?
It was birds with an open acetabulum, but
That's what it was, yeah.
So many of them, and I
Yeah.
don't know why. I've let's see, Jonathan Sarfati, who recently blocked me on Twitter. That was fun.
Yeah, he
has
did
said
that
it.
to me a long time ago.
Yeah, I did it by trying to bait him into admitting just how homophobic AIG is, and he wouldn't do it, and then eventually he blocked me. Because my idea was going to be that once he is openly homophobic, well, in reference to AIG, I was just going to report the crap out of him.
My thing was he just said, "Well, what if we find like a crown mammal before where we think crown mammals started? Like then we push back the date of the common ancestor." Block. I was like, what was that? We had a perfectly normal conversation.
I can
But
top
also,
the blocks because I got blocked by him because I wanted him to have a conversation with Jackson. Block.
Nice.
Block,
Of
yeah.
course. I've also heard Tim Clary say it from ICR. Who's the other guy they got? They got the paleo biochemist guy. Who was that?
At ICR?
Yeah, at ICR.
I don't know.
Younger than Timothy Clary, kind of like curly, short, dark hair. Who is it?
I don't know. I'm
gonna find out because I've also heard him say it. I actually heard him
Okay.
and Timothy Clary say it together because they were a joint.
Are you gonna
Q&A.
Are you gonna make that into one of your your slideshows? Like so next time you hear a creationist say it, you can just be like run slideshow and then just like pictures of birds with open acetabulum.
It already has been one actually.
Oh, okay, all right, good.
Yeah. Not Jeffrey Tompkins. Who's the other guy? My goodness, it's the guy's not even on their list.
You're not talking about like Kurt Wise.
I haven't heard Kurt Wise say it. You know what? We'll continue, and I'm going to go actually check my channel
David
to figure
Kavanaugh.
out who the heck it is. Because I have it
Okay.
in a video. I think it's even a video that's like released publicly. Like I'm pretty sure this is one of the ones that like you can just, even if you're not like a member or a patron, you can just check. Yeah, it is public. It's been public for a while now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to double check it.
All right, so you want to keep going, Nestle?
Oh, sure. The next subset is the Sauriskia. At least the commonly accepted hypothesis is that the dinosaurs split into the Ornithischians and the Saurischians.
Which a paper just came out about that today. I don't know if you saw it, Nestle.
No.
But their conclusion was that all three of the different arrangements for the base of Dinosauria are all like statistically equally likely.
Yep.
Ooh.
Yeah. All three of them.
We're gonna need. So one of the things is if you look at like the basal-most dinosaurs that we have, like Herrerasauridae and like the earliest known prosauropods and whatnot, they're basically identical.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is again what you would expect in terms of evolution. By the way,
also look at how short these branches are. Look at how short those are.
Oh yeah. Also, so the person I was thinking of is Brian Thomas.
Oh, Brian. Oh yeah.
Who is not a PhD. I thought he was for some reason. I thought he was Dr. Thomas, but I guess he's not.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah. Yep. Although like Ornithischians have like a very a shady Triassic fossil record because
they do.
I think
there's like is Pisanosaurus not considered Ornithischian?
I believe right now that it is most likely Ornithischian, but like it's one of those like, is it though?
It's an
egg.
What'd you say?
Yes.
Like there are like I've seen Thomas Holt's presentations, and he says like Pisanosaurus is either an early Ornithischian, or it's a Silosaurid, or
would make it not a dinosaur.
Yeah, or Silosaurids are the ancestors to Ornithischians.
Which would then
That's
move Silosaurids
whack.
from Dinosauriformes into Dinosauria.
Well, you know, and
Yes.
on one hand that's whack, but on the other hand, it's really funny because those link up like perfectly in this chart. So that was
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But the other thing is like because the Herrerasaurids also keep like bouncing in and out of Dinosauria. So
And even
like,
within Dinosauria, they bounce around between Sauropodomorpha and Theropoda.
and now we even have like definitive sauropodomorphs which are like carnivorous, like what is it, Buriolestes, I think.
Buriolestes, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, the ancestors of sauropodomorphs were also carnivorous, were probably like insectivorous or something like that. So yeah.
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 And
of course-
you had like you had Eoraptor, which was originally considered to be an early theropod, but now it's considered to be an early sauropodomorph. So that shows how very similar they were at the early stages. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course, one of the things for Pysanosaurus is that, well, it's missing the one big thing that would help clear this up, which would be a distinct predentary bone.
Right.
And it's not because like, oh, we just didn't have it. It's because the distal most end of the mandible is just missing. So it's like, come on, man, it's the one thing we need, and it's just not there.
Yeah, that sucks. That's really funny though.
Yeah, it's very, very frustrating.
The literal one piece that would
Right.
solidify the case.
If it's got a predentary bone, like it's an Ornithischian,
Right.
pretty much guaranteed. But
That's
what don't we
wild.
have? It's like, God damn it, Pysanosaurus. Just
That's
on.
wild. Okay, I didn't even know that. That's so funny.
Yeah, it's really annoying.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And then we can move on to as I mentioned before, the modern hypothesis is the Saurischian hypothesis that says that sauropodomorphs and the theropods are each other's closest relatives, and they have one very important trait in common. They have air sacs, which the Ornithischians don't apparently have. They didn't appear to have these air sacs. And
Okay.
air sacs. That sounds familiar.
Of course,
Weird.
The tricky thing, though, the reason why that's not super great at uniting sauropods and theropods together as Saurischia is because extensive pneumatization, including air sacs, is actually basal to Archosauria. So, like,
Oh yeah.
yeah. So it's like, oh, hey, these guys share this trait. It's like, yeah, but it's plesium. It's it's
Right.
it's plesiomorphic. So
Right.
not a great basis to unite two different groups of animals.
So was it independently lost in the Ornithischians?
Probably.
Okay.
It's much more likely to have been lost in Ornithischians than it is to have like re-evolved.
Sure.
Especially not if it was like going to re-evolve twice. So that's one of the reasons why I tend to think that that the traditional Saurischia versus Ornithischia is still a reasonable hypothesis. Was one of the reasons, right? Is because it's easier to explain the singular loss of these air sacs in Ornithischia, and then their paired retention. Although honestly, having it retained in theropods and then have Ornithoscelida have one group of Ornithoscelida that lost air sacs is not much less parsimonious. So
yeah, it's not crazy. Yeah.
Well, but I believe that the sauropods and also the theropods have one particular thing about the air sacs in common. They all have pneumatization of the cervicals. I think it's more extensive.
Yes,
in
that is
them.
true.
Yeah, more extensive.
Yeah, which
and so there's one. Yeah.
That on its own is a bit derived. So that itself is a pretty good. That
also
could be synapomorphies there for Saurischia.
It's also I've also seen like several papers that have argued that there are several traits that allow the sauropods to become huge. Like one of them is the specific reproduction. Like mammals are constrained by especially placental mammals are constrained by the size because they need to like the elephant's pregnancy that it lasts for a very long time.
Right.
And that limits their size. But the sauropods, they are also these air sacs and the way they breathe also allowed them to become way bigger than mammals.
A funny thing about that though is if you think about their like the recurrent laryngeal nerve that these guys had, in some like Supersaurus it would have been like 90 feet long. So this is like a nerve cell that's like 90 feet long. It's kind of insane.
Okay, isn't the laryngeal nerve also responsible for making vocal sounds too, or not?
I believe so, because it's because it connects the brain to the larynx. It's one of the branches of the vagus nerve.
One thing is,
stalking would have been very awkward if you're a sauropod. Like you want to say something and you need to wait a few a second.
We already have a modern analog, right? So the giraffe already has a absurdly long recurrent laryngeal nerve,
right.
Which basically, in case anyone watching isn't familiar, this is a nerve that goes down around a blood vessel next to the heart and then comes back up to the larynx, your voice box. Now, if you look at the homologous nerve in a fish, that's pretty much a straight line, which makes sense. But because it starts out there in the more basal fish-shaped organisms, it can't just reroute. That's not how evolution works. It's not how embryology works. And so for a giraffe, as well as for sauropods, unless they just lost a larynx and laryngeal nerve, which I guess is a possibility, right?
Yeah.
It has to go all the way down to the heart, then all the way back up to just under the chin. And one of the results of this is that among ungulates, giraffes are some of the least vocal.
Okay.
They have some hissing and some bellowing that they make, and that's about it. They don't have any they don't moo or low at each other. They don't have any extensive verbal communication.
So is that so for one thing, I guess I would say the old it's not super, the older BBC Walking with Dinosaurs, it wouldn't have been the Diplodocus wouldn't have been like that, where they were kind of roaring at each other. It would have been more like the more modern one, where they have some sort of display, because they're not.
It's a little hard to say, right? You can still have a long laryngeal nerve and make sounds.
Sure, it's going to take a while.
The thing is, it's going to take a while, and so you can't have. It can't be like an alarm call, but it could be something like hey, this is where the herd is.
Yeah.
Because it's that kind of signal doesn't have to be like an up to the moment signal. That's the kind of signal your brain can say, okay, we're going to make here's the herd call, and it's fine if it happens 6 seconds later. Who cares?
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I did like in the new prehistoric planet where the sauropods, they were using gular sacs as their display instead of they were still kind of making noises, but they had this display that was much more immediate, and that's how they were communicating with each other.
It also wasn't necessarily going through the larynx in order to make that sound.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yep. I just thought that was neat. There was a lot in that. There was a lot in the new prehistoric. I haven't seen the newest season, but in the first season, there's a lot of stuff that's I can't rule that out, but it may be.
Yeah.
So. Okay, thank you.
All right, and the next group is the theropods, and they are again. I only showed a few traits that are relevant to birds, and one of the traits that is very very relevant to birds that all theropods have is a wishbone, the furcula,
which was also predicted in theropods on the basis that birds are nested within the theropods.
Yep. Then people figured out that, hey, these turtle ribs are actually theropod furculae.
Right. Yeah. The cool thing was the person who I can't remember his name, but the paleontologist who actually made that prediction was against the bird theropod hypothesis. He was no, we don't find furcula in theropods, which we should if birds are descended from them. And then lo and behold,
Oh man, sucks to be Alan.
Yeah, well, that prediction was actually made way before he was.
Oh, true. I'm just saying, in general, because of all the evidence of birds being dinosaurs, it sucks to be Alan Venetia.
I generally wonder. I don't know. Aside from his groupies, I really do wonder how he kind of gets along. I don't know. It must be weird to buck the entire scientific the community on this consensus thing, but be totally. I'm sure he thinks he's totally right about everything, but I don't know.
Okay, I just had an idea. We should totally try to get David Peters on.
No, please no. He actually commented on one of the whale responses we did to Long Story Short.
I know.
Yeah.
I want to hear him explain to me why Desmostylians are a good ancestor.
No,
for
he's gonna be like, I took a low res picture of it and put it through a phylogeny or something like that. He's gonna show up. No, you mentioned him. He's gonna show up. I swear.
Hi, David.
No.
I still really liked your Raptors book from the early or the mid '90s. It was really cool, but like since then, you kind of fallen off the turnip truck there.
Or what's the other one? The pangolins are like the sister to primates or something like that.
I think it's like closer to like hominids or something, and he bases this almost entirely on the fact that they have 2 teats.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a trait that
It's like-
is very variable among mammals or something.
It looks like they got boobs. They must be humans. Oh, okay. Sure.
I mean, that's kind of like no, what's the Discovery Institute? Yeah, they like put out a biocomplexity article recently where they were like, see, gastrulation is different in a bunch of different groups of like vertebrates, so not evolution. Genetics? What's that? We're not going to talk about genetics.
who
Don't worry
cares?
about it.
Yeah. Never mind that the pangolin is genetically closer to your dog than it is to you.
Yeah. Like, don't worry about genetics. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
All that
Don't
matters
worry.
is Photoshop.
Yeah.
All right, that's enough of a David Peters tangent, I think.
Yeah.
I'm going to help
Yeah.
I'm going to
And,
help Trudy out with her drinking game. So the clade of birds also contains boobies and tits.
True.
Very
must-
true.
they
And
must be
woodpeckers.
humans.
Yeah, woodpeckers, shags.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very true.
Yeah. One of the early theropods were the coelophysoids, and also in the yeah.
I'm
just
sorry.
trying to move.
He's like, all right, moving on.
along.
Hey, no, I like it. Let's continue on.
Sorry, yeah.
No more David Peters, okay? All right. But yeah, you have the Ceratosaurs and the Mechanosauroids and the Allosauroids. And then we end up with another interesting group, the Coelurosaurs, where we have the at least the first definite appearance. Like perhaps they appear earlier, but with Coelurosaurs, it's most certain that we now have the first fuzzy plume feathers. Even early Tyrannosauroids have members.
Like you, Tyrannus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you Tyrannus were covered in fuzzy entanglement. Yeah.
It's also fun to show creationists because they say like no dinosaurs had feathers, and it's like, oh, but didn't they?
Yeah,
Like
and also
it-
it's
like-
almost certain that later some later Tyrannosauroids did too, like Nanosaurus, which lived in Alaska, almost certainly had feathers.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, just show them this is a fuzzy Tyrannosaur. Your argument is invalid.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, they give the normal what is it another like fiduciaism. It's like it's just collagen fibers or something. Like, okay, explain to me how collagen fibers look like this and have a rachis. Like, explain to me.
Also have melanosomes, which is not a thing that collagen has, because collagen is itself a protein. It doesn't contain entire like cellular vesicles full of melanin. Like that's not how it works.
Collagen famously points off the back and has a rachis.
Yeah,
That's how that works.
Like none of this adds up. Also, one of my other favorite ones is some of the things that Alan Fiducia has compared to feathers and said that these are both collagen fibers were actually tool marks made by fossil
Oh
preparators.
no.
Right. Like the ichthyosaur, had like these markings. Yeah.
Some of those
Exactly.
markings, the fossil preparator like came out of the woodworks and was like, those are tool marks. It's like, how do you know? I made them.
Oh, that's so sad.
I
It's almost as sad as the like April Fool's thing that Darren Naish did.
Oh, and then Alan Fiducia took seriously.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really sad at this point,
Oh, Alan, just
sorry.
pack it in, man. You had a good run. It's over.
You can't do a parody of a real life parody.
That's
Basically.
very true. Yeah, when the Onion articles are just like the news, yeah.
Well, my favorite headline from today was Home Alone 2 Lost in New York star has been charged for a second time. It's like,
Yeah,
true.
that's very true. Yeah. Yeah, anyway.
All right. And the next group is the within Solorosaurus is the Maniraptoriformes, where we have the first pennaceous arm feathers, like Ornithomimosaurus had these big arm feathers.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
And they were and they couldn't fly. So what did they use them for? You cannot use a half a wing, right? There's no function for half a wing.
It turns out they're great for brooding.
Yeah.
Eggs.
Yeah.
And
like
display.
I think Nemegtomea, however you pronounce it, it was actually found like preserved on top of its nest with its arms like spread over. Yeah. Because it was covered by like a sandstorm that passed by or something like that.
Yeah, it turns out that feathers are useful for more than just flight.
Yeah. Whack. Even the wing assisted incline running is like a thing that small
Mostly
like
juvenile
pheasants
birds
do is things like that.
Yeah.
They'll like flap their wings really hard, but they're not flying. They're using it to get lift to run up like trees and stuff.
Actually, they're using it to kind of get the opposite reverse lift. They're actually pushing down, and it's to increase their grip on the surface with their feet.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's still an aerodynamic use of feathers that does not involve flight.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, and then in the next group, the Maniraptora, we see also the a backwards pointing pubis. Although that trait apparently appeared many times within the Maniraptorans, so it's perhaps not a strictly ancestral trait, but they have done this independently of each other within this group. And then also we also see a shift in the locomotion where they with their legs bent predominantly at the knee instead of at the femur.
Well, because by that point,
Yeah.
right, like the pubis isn't like, it's kind of like pointing down, right? So it's relatively easy to get it from that down position to the backwards position.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just sort of like it can go a little bit one way or the other, and either way is just as easy.
Right.
Right. And then another very interesting development in the Panaraptora, we see lateral shoulder joints, so that now they can extend their arms laterally, just like on the sides, as if what you need to do if you want to flap your wings and take off, like extending your arms on the sides. Like most animals cannot do that, but these guys could. You also have the semi-lunate carpal, where you can fold up your wing as birds do. And then also it also have a larger sternum and pennaceous feathers on the tail as well as on the arms.
Mm-hmm.
So I think also if you remember the notes of Thomas Holt's lectures, the Panaraptora are also inferred to have been doing, as you mentioned before, the wing assisted incline running. But they don't have flying. Perhaps, probably not, but they can use their wings to flap and maneuver in their environment in many different ways, like a wing-assisted incline running. And they can also perhaps climb trees and then do controlled flapping descent, like they can like descend from the trees and using their wings as a parachute, basically. Yeah, a controlled parachute.
Well, you kind of answered cross-platform adventures question. I wonder if a lot of dromaeosaurs would climb trees and glide down on their prey. So that kind of answers that, because
the
early ones at least, right?
Yeah, like Microraptor, as I included the Microraptor there. It's a dromaeosaurid, and I think it's also inferred to have been like predatory and maybe it hunted by gliding, perhaps. Yeah.
And Archaeopteryx could fly. What is it? About as slightly better than a sack of potatoes, wasn't it? Isn't that the quote? So.
Slightly better, yeah.
Yeah.
It's also an interesting debate about how well these early Panaraptorans could have flown. Like maybe they did not fly; they could have glided. But then
there was one paper I read a while back that talked about how true flight didn't occur, actually occurred within Avialae, and what was required essentially was the miniaturization of birds. Archaeopteryx was too big in part, and so once natural selection kind of drove them down in size, then they could get better they like really could do powered flight, and then basically went from there because they're they're like a platform, right? They're like a gliding platform, but when they're larger size, but with as you get smaller, with your increased your musculature and the larger sternum and all that sort of stuff, then you actually have the ability to take flight. So those were the things that they talked about.
Right. Like that's also the case that the many dromaeosaurids were also very small at the beginning. Like only later, like only some dromaeosaurids became huge later on. Like the earlier ones were like as big as Archaeopteryx, probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
So and also this whole group probably could have they could have been like small things that have perhaps like used their wings to climb up trees and then just to avoid the big predators like the tyrannosaurs and such. Yeah. And but some of them came down the trees and became huge, like Utahraptor, one of the biggest of the dromaeosaurids.
I wonder where it was from.
Yeah. And one of the things that the dromaeosaurids have in common with the avialans is that they have long arms. They are united in the group, the Eumeniraptora. They have long arms, and their tail is very mobile at the base. Like they have very stiff tails, and the tail can only bend at the base at this point, basically.
Which is also how birds do.
Exactly, yeah. And they have a long leg feathers as well. And interestingly, they have also retractable sickle claw on the second toe. Archaeopteryx has this trait as well. The famous second toe claw on Velociraptor is also something that Archaeopteryx had.
David Menton at AIG did say that Chinoraptor, which is a dromaeosaur, is exactly like Archaeopteryx. So dromaeosaurs are apparently exactly like birds. So
Yeah. And it's also one thing like in some studies, Archaeopteryx has been moved to the dromaeosaurids. Yeah,
right.
Studies.
It's a basal dromaeosaurid. Yeah, I think it was like yeah, there were some paper kind of early mid aughts that like Archaeopteryx was a basally derived dromaeosaurid.
Yeah, that I don't believe has caught on as the consensus.
Yeah, not definitely not in the recent papers I've seen. Yeah.
But also Troodontids also have the hypertrophied retractable digit 2 on the pes.
Yeah.
And so it's possible that this is actually just the basal condition for Eumeniraptora, and that birds have subsequently lost this condition.
Yes, it's a trait that's common in Eumeniraptor. Although I did not have enough room for the Troodontids.
Well, it looks it's really good.
And also I really love the Alphosaurids, but also again no room for them.
Look, you cannot fit every single clade of Dinosauria on this chart, so
Yeah, exactly. All right, I think I've covered everything from this slide. Yeah, we can move on to the next slide. So yeah, it's so we have noted that there were birds. Even crown birds during the Mesozoic, but about ducks and chickens, it's unfortunately that some of the early crown birds in the Cretaceous, like Vergavis and Asterionis, they have often given colloquial names. Like Vergavis is often called a duck, and Asterionis has been nicknamed the wonder chicken by researchers, but they are not part of the modern families that we know today, and that's And I think that's a very unfortunate thing that can cause a lot of confusion. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's the fact that they're part of this Galloanserae group, but the modern extant families are things that have come about only after the KPG.
Yeah.
And so while it's less wrong to say that there are ducks in the Cretaceous than it is to say that there are avocets or penguins, it's still not technically true.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We can move on to the next slide. Yeah. Yeah, I now have expanded the crown group of birds to include more of the extinct and modern families, and you can see that the group that includes the chickens. They are in the Phasianidae family, where you also have the peacocks and the turkeys and such, and also some of the relatives, like how do you call it? The guinea fowl, I think. Such.
Right.
And the megapodes as well. Like the megapode is like one of the early divergent lineages of the galliforms, the land fowl. Yeah. And you also have like like an interesting extinct stem galliform called the Sylviornithidae, which was flightless. Sylviornith. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, but the point is that the chicken family or the pheasant family is a pretty modern family. There were no chickens, strictly speaking, in the Cretaceous.
Right.
And also regarding the duck family and Anatidae, where it also includes the swans and geese, they are also pretty modern. Although, as it's shown here, they diverged from their closest relatives. Like according to molecular data, they diverged from their closest relatives. The how do you call those birds? Like I think the
Anseronatidae?
like this, yeah, Anseronatidae and the screamers. I think they are called magpie goose, right? The Anseronatidae, magpie goose.
Yeah, they're a very look. Most people aren't going to know what the magpie geese are, but they're like a South American group of waterfowl that are kind of weird looking, but they mostly look like geese with like funny noses, and also they don't really have much webbing on their toes, so that's a little weird too.
Yeah, but as it's shown here, that according to molecular studies, or at least one of them that I found, they could have diverged in the Cretaceous, but we don't have any fossils of their group, not the Anatidae at least. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can move on to the next slide. Yeah. So just to skim right through them, you have also other claimed birds, like for example, it's claimed to be there was a stem loon, and I like the creationist websites mentioned a stem loon, but they didn't say specifically which species, so I had to look online to find it, and I found this one species called Polarornis, but I saw that there were like a very old studies that proposes that this was a stem loon, but recent studies suggest that they are like stem antheriforms related to the Vegavis, basically. Yeah. And then also you have also a very old concept in bird evolution is the transitional shorebirds, where at the end of the Cretaceous they were considered to have been the ancestors to the flamingos, shorebirds like sandpipers and avocets, and the waterfowl. But this relationship between the shorebirds, flamingos, and waterfowl is no longer accepted today. And also some of these transitional shorebirds, like Presbyornis, which was mistaken for a stem flamingo, is now considered to be a stem antheriform as well.
Take that, flamingos.
Boom.
Yes.
Also, fun fact about flamingos was when we talked about the Galapagos finches. Interestingly, there is a lot of debate among ornithologists as to whether the Galapagos finches came directly from South America or, in fact, bounced from the Caribbean over Panama and then to South America, which is, in fact, the path that flamingos took from the Caribbean to the Galapagos. I mean, either way, the closest. I mean, either way, like, you know, South America and the Caribbean really aren't too far from the Galapagos, anyways. It's just a matter of, was it the closer island or the slightly farther away islands? Like, that's really the.
So they were already adapted to an island condition, and then they just jumped to another island, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, which of the close islands was it? Was it the one that was closer or the one that was slightly farther away? Like, it's not crazy really either way. So.
That's like, I'm going to steal one thing. since I talk to creationists on Twitter a lot, I'm going to refer to Kent Hovind as a STEM loon.
Yeah.
Okay, but
work.
here's the real question, though. Who wore it better, Flamingos or Pterodastro?
Oh, very true.
Yeah, because they basically had the same niche.
Is that a dove I hear?
Yeah, that is in fact a white-winged dove.
Nice.
That, for some reason, loves to hang out right at the top of the chimney around this time of day.
I
very
want
convenient.
everyone to appreciate that I identified a bird through the internet. It's at a different place on Earth. There you go.
Yeah.
Everyone should appreciate that for me. Okay. Anyway, you were saying?
Yeah. And also the claim of cormorants in the Cretaceous, but with this I couldn't find much. Like the only thing I could find was on Wikipedia, which mentions like 2 old papers from the 90s and early 2000s, which respectively describe 1 scapula and 1 right femur, which suggests affinity to cormorants, but there isn't really enough to describe even a species regarding this. So yeah. But the main point we need to remember is that neo-avians, these according to molecular dates, they could have diverged before the end of the Cretaceous. So these early stem relatives of neo-avians isn't completely out of the question. So, but however, as of now, we have no definite examples of end Cretaceous neo-avians. So they could have been there, and they probably were. Like according to molecular dates, there should have been relatives of neo-avians there, but of course not any of the modern species that you know about. None of them. Yeah. Okay, we can. Do anybody want to go over like some of the interesting extinct groups, like the Castornis and the Dromornithidae?
I think we mentioned Gastornis earlier.
Yeah,
I think we can keep going.
Yeah.
You guys
one thing I could mention is like these Castornis and Dromornithidae, they have often been regarded as like stem anseriforms.
Okay.
But I found like one recent study that suggests that they have traits that are associated with the Gallo and Saraway, but this recent study suggests that this trait is actually a more basal birth trait. So Castornis and Dromornithidae and also the Pelagornithidae may have been more basal or even just outside the crown bird group. So they may have been
really
they may have been stem birds.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, of course, that's like one recent paper that I found.
Yeah.
Like,
they might be like the ninjamis of birds.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Sometimes, sometimes those stem groups really stick around for a long time, especially in island settings. Islands are great refugia for different animals, and so like you have oh gosh, what is it?
Also the Meolaniids, like it's the stem turtles, also very long lasting survivors as well. Yeah.
I'm trying to think. Is like was it Tethys hadrus? Was like a stem hadrosaur, but at the end of the Cretaceous, just because they'd survived on like some of the islands in the Tethys. So yeah, that tends to happen. Because like there's no competition, right? Everything else is on the mainland, so you don't have to worry about competing with, other animals who can process plants more efficiently than you or something like that.
Till humans show up with mongooses and cats and rats.
Very true. One of my favorite examples of island fauna is one we mentioned recently. It is the Myotragus bulyricus, which is
binocular goat.
Yeah, the goat with eyes on the front of his face.
So creepy.
It looks like he looks like
a Lovecraftian monster. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he'd give you 3 riddles, something like that. So yeah, it's whack.
And also the Tuatara, as Smithy mentioned.
That's another good. Yeah, that's another really good example.
Yeah, great example. Yeah. Not too many other sphenodons out there, and by not too many, I mean none.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Oh, we can move on to the next slide. Yeah. All right. The penguins and albatrosses, like the modern crown group of penguins, they are also quite modern. Like the last common ancestor is like inferred to have been like about 25 or 20 million years old. But then we have like a whole bunch of stem members of penguins, which go all the way back to the early Cenozoic, shortly after the extinction event. Like one of the earliest ones is the Waimanu, as I have shown here in the bottom left. And they aren't as specialized as the modern penguins, but still they were already flightless and probably swimming too. So there has been suggestions that the penguins could have started at the end Cretaceous, but of course we have no fossils of early penguins in the end Cretaceous. And also penguins are related to the group that includes the albatrosses and petrels.
I was not
and they
aware
have
of that, but I can definitely see it in Waimanu. I can definitely see that. Yeah.
Yeah. They are related to the two pen-nosed birds. Yeah.
That's really
And
cool.
and the group that includes the albatrosses and petrels, they have there are proposed fossils of the end Cretaceous that have been suggested to have been stem members of the albatrosses and petrels, but again, this is disputed. It's not certain that they are actually related to them. So yeah.
Right.
Again, there could have been basal early neo-avians in the end Cretaceous, but so far we have no unambiguous fossils at the end of the Cretaceous. Right. Yeah. Okay. Next slide.
Extinctions tend to open up a lot of niches for animals to diversify and undergo big adaptive radiations.
Yeah. I would think that, like, if I would have make a bet, I would think that the penguins only adapted to like the aquatic environment after the extinction event. I think that like after the niches were open, that's when they became adapted to the maybe they were already a bit aquatic in the before the extinction event, but then after that they went really going into the marine environment probably. Yeah.
And also the Galapagos is the northernmost place on Earth that has penguins.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only place above the equator that has penguins. So yeah.
I don't know. I've been way farther north than that and seen penguins in zoos.
Oh, you're so funny. So funny. Big old nerd.
Yeah.
You invited me here. You know who I am. You know I'm a nerd.
That's true.
Jackson, how many other people do you know who can have a conversation Klingon?
Personally, just one. Just one person. And that's you.
Oh, I was gonna say other.
One theropod. Oh, other than you, none. I don't know anyone IRL who knows Klingon. Of course, I also don't know anyone else who has your propensity for linguistics. So
you might just not know about it.
I feel like I would know if the people I work with are, they like animals, but they're not animal people. They're like am
I an animal person?
I'd say so.
Okay.
You do this you do this fairly regularly, this sort of thing. So I think you're an animal person. What I mean is, like, they like animals, and they are fine learning about animals, but they're like, I'm gonna go into law, or I'm gonna be a dentist or something like that. They're not. This isn't their future, like it is for us. This is what we do. I'm working on my grad degree right now for zoology. So like, this is what we do. I think we all of us here are like animal people. So yeah. So
we should get hats.
We should get hats. Darn it.
It just says animal person. And then we can have a very wide range, like a hugely diverse range of animals, but they all are things that people would just normally call worms, except, like there's like an acorn worm over here, and then there's like a polychaete over there, and it's like, that's as different as you could possibly realistically get.
There was a shirt that had like different worms on, and it was like, I think about worms a lot or something like, and it just had like a bunch of different phyla of worms, and I was like, good. I need that. I want it. Where is it? I want it.
It's like there's a polychaete over here, there's a nematode over here, there's an acorn worm over there, there's a
We actually
priaculid.
saw a huge polychaete
Nice.
recently. This guy was like, I was shocked by how big he is. Anyway, sorry.
I know, no worries. Like we still have time. Next is the last slide or one of the last slides. Yeah.
Okay.
But the regarding the parrot, like again, we don't have Mesozoic fossils of neoavians, and parrots are especially one of the a very derived group. And in this case, molecular dates suggest that they are strictly Cenozoic. But there was one old paper from the late 1990s that suggested this one lower piece of a lower jaw belonged to a parrot. But then there were other responses to this paper that says like there isn't enough to determine this, and it could have been an Oviraptorosaurian. So yeah, that's all. That's all about the parrots. So yeah.
Yeah. I have seen some indication that there might be like some indication that like was it Axotropomorphae might go back to like the Cretaceous, which might mean that like Psittaciformes could have diverged slightly after, but like I don't actually know if that's really something that's still well supported. And it was only a little like suggestion. Like it would still be surprising if Telaraves went back, and that's the group that includes like parrots and eagles, and also like songbirds, like passerines.
This is one of the really big group within the neoavians, and they could, and they could have diverged either just before or just after the extinction event, according to molecular dates, like the neo, like if you look up the molecular phylogenies of neoavians, you see this like a very star pattern where many different lineages just diverged all about the same time, just before or just after the extinction event.
We in the biz call that a polytomy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, polytomy. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm still looking at worm shirts.
Send me the best worm shirt you find.
I will.
Okay.
I'm looking at Redbubble right now because Amazon didn't have much.
Yeah. All right, and this is the owl that I found.
Very owl-ish.
Yeah.
To be fair, when this species was first described in the 1970s, it was believed to have been a giant owl in the Cretaceous. But then when we found more, exactly. But when we found more of the Alvorosaurids, they were, which were once considered to be flightless birds, they are now considered to be non-avian dinosaurs. Yeah. So, and also a funny story. Like many years ago, I joined a stream with Nephilim Free.
Dun, dun, dun.
And like he was claiming that there were Cretaceous owls. I did not know what he was talking about, so I kept asking him. Yeah, I kept asking him for the source, and he just did not answer me.
Of course not. He's Nephilim Free.
Yeah.
And
then I looked up. And then I looked up
ate a piece of paper on stream.
Exactly. And then I looked up this for myself, and I found this. Yeah. And
okay.
Yeah.
Right. That's like you honestly should know better than asking Nephilim Free a question and then expecting an answer.
Yeah.
That has never happened. Mm-hmm. But I have to ask, what's with the cat?
Oh, it's a scale.
Size comparison.
Scale, for scale, yeah. Size comparison. Also, like the Alvorosaurids were in fact a very peculiar group of.
Didn't they have just like one finger on each hand or something like that?
Yeah. Yes.
There's
exactly.
some indication they might have had a tiny little spur of digit 3.
Okay, but they basically had one finger on each hand.
Yes, effectively,
yeah. If you look closely at this example, you can also see like one finger, but maybe also like a tiny nubbin of another finger there. Yeah. Yeah, and they also now have been thought to be insect eaters, perhaps like termite or ant eaters as well. Yeah, very peculiar group of dinos. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we can move to the last slide.
I'm going to annoy you. I'm going to annoy you anyway because this is the Cretaceous. So the cat shown in the picture has to be one of the first of the cat kind, and we have no idea how big that is because creationists don't do that.
Ah, yes, the cat kind.
Okay, this is
I
the
too do science.
yes. This is the last one.
Yeah, there you go.
Very true.
He looks
the best
familiar.
slide.
He looks familiar.
Oh, we got
Yeah.
an RJ in the chat.
Oh, hey, RJ.
It's RJ. I like that. That's nice.
And I finished in just 2 hours. Just in
We
time.
did it.
We did it.
Hooray!
Yeah. Okay. So we'll push long story short to next time.
Yeah.
That seems fair.
Hour.
Yeah.
But feel free
Sorry
to
for-
join us
if-
for that, Dapper.
Otherwise, the long
Remind me
story
and let
would
me
be
know what
very,
the,
very
what the
short.
topic is.
The topic
The
is
topic is also the antibiotic resistance, right? Or not?
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I remember
Is
that.
antibiotic resistance evolution? I don't know.
All
Is
right.
changing allele frequencies in a population over generations evolution?
Yeah, basically.
And I actually is also a good thing because I met when it came first out, I made a response on like a blog, and I can
Mhm.
just pull out the notes from that. So yeah. Although I think
Yeah.
I won't make a presentation next time.
Yeah, we'll just go off the cuff. I mean, I like this.
Yeah.
This was good.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll probably just go off the cuff like we normally do for these
Yeah.
sorts of things. We'll just be like, no,
Yeah.
pause, hold on.
Mhm.
That's stupid for a bunch of reasons. I just want to point out for everyone who's not aware, if you're not familiar with Long Story Short, he defended that the platypus is a chimera of different animals. So just want to throw that out there. Not that the duck bill, quote, the bill of the platypus, not that it just kind of vaguely looks like that of a duck, which it does, but that it actually is a duck bill, which it isn't. Like,
That-
if you know
No.
anything about the morphology of the bill itself,
That the platypus bill is made of, like skin, and the duck bill is made of like, keratin that didn't phase him at all.
I don't think he knew. I think
Okay.
there are like, it's kind of it's kind of like when you see the difference between like I'll just use Tucker Carlson as an example. So Tucker Carlson was like one of the big political pundits, and he recently got fired from the network he was on, which was Fox News. So on Fox, there were a certain set of things he could say, on like cable news. There are things he can say and things he can't say, right?
Right.
I mean, that's true really of anything, but But now that he has his own show, he can say things that he couldn't say
Oh goodness.
on his show. Yeah, it's
Is
bad.
that what's up now?
Yeah, it's real bad. If just for laughs, like I would recommend like checking out his new little whatever.
You recommend him?
I mean, if you just want to see like how bad it is when he doesn't have the chains of cable news on him, like how bad he actually is, then yeah, I would say go check that out. It's really bad.
I'll wait for a highlight reel. I don't think I want to watch an entire episode of Tucker Carlson's Twitter show.
Well, fortunately,
Just to
these
get
are
to.
these are only like 10 minutes, something like that. So they're
That's
a lot
a lot
shorter.
of Tucker Carlson for me to
That's
consume
true.
in one sitting.
It's a lot better than an hour though, because that was his old show. Was
yeah, but I
But-
never watched that.
But same. The point I was trying to make was, I mean, that's fair. Neither did I. But the point I was trying to make is simply that, like, with Long Story Short, he would make arguments which were very, or by comparison, more sophisticated, which he clearly was getting help from someone at the Discovery Institute to make those. And then there were the times when he would just kind of go like off the leash or whatever and make his own arguments, and they were obviously just bonkers insane, right? And that was one of them. Like when he made the argument about like sometimes phylogenetic trees have like low bootstrap values. He was like, he's stealing that from Jonathan Wells, but nobody is nobody at the Discovery Institute is defending that the platypus is a chimera, right? Nobody's doing that. That's his own argument.
It's like it is an example of original ignorance. Like most of his arguments are borrowed, but then sometimes you see like some of the original thinking going on.
In all fairness,
like
everyone knows that the platypus just was designed by God using all the parts that he had left in his parts bin. That's how we got platypus.
Dapper, I don't know.
It also reminds. It is confusion between like the platypus and ducks. It also reminds me of like a long time ago. I saw a video by Raw Matt, he talks about bears, and then he shows like pictures of bears, like a brown bear, a polar bear, a grizzly bear, and such. And at one time he shows a koala. Just in the middle of it, a koala.
That sounds like Raw Matt.
Yeah, he's a silly guy.
Really
he's the one who thought that when we said like a protein was localized like to the membrane, he thought the gene itself got moved from the nucleus to the cell membrane, which is.
He also said that
just a little wrong.
He also said that humans learn to grow mustaches because they punched each other in the face. It was for dampening.
Yeah, he got that from some paper that did not specifically say exactly.
And
what he was saying.
now,
surprisingly enough.
And now, what's his name? The other guy, Matt Powell. Yeah, no, Matt Powell runs around saying the same thing.
Yes,
he's also an idiot.
He was on a show on Matt Powell's channel on a live show where they brought Matt in to tell him that. So that's where Matt Powell got it from.
Matt Powell is also running with the Fox News headline saying that dinosaurs might have fired themselves to extinction, which actually, if you read both the article and the paper, it doesn't say that. I actually read the paper, and what it said was that sauropod flatulence may have contributed mildly to the warming trends seen in the late Jurassic. To which I say, yeah, that sounds reasonable.
Sure, right.
And in no way at all has anything to do with dinosaurs farting themselves to death.
Yeah.
I think it would have been farting or belching. I think it probably was belching, I think.
Well, either way.
They were talking about methane expulsion from the GI tract. So whichever end it comes out of.
In all fairness,
way,
Hovind says we came from rocks,
so
Matt had to come up with his own little thing. Is the dinosaurs farting themselves to death.
Yeah, noticeably, dinosaurs lasted another like 80 million years after the Jurassic ended, so they clearly did not die, in the late Jurassic.
Also, okay, here's one good thing on Matt. Did you see when he announced that he was leaving Dinosaur Adventureland? And
yes.
Then Kent was like,
good for him.
Hey, maybe you can come back when I'm gone and take over the place. And he was just like, I don't think so. This is like good for you, Matt. I don't say it much, but that was an absolute Matt Powell.
Yeah, say what you want about Matt Powell. He's an absolute idiot. His kids don't deserve to live there at Dinosaur Adventureland. No. They don't deserve that. So
chickens do handstands.
Chickens do handstands. Yeah. Amazing.
Also, one last thing that I also reminded of.
Don't wrap it up.
One claim Raw Matt made was he claimed that humans only have one inner ear bone.
Oh no!
But when that mistake was caught, they just quietly deleted the video, and that's it.
Reminds me of when Raw Matt said that unlike humans, apes have 2 bones in their lower arm that lets them have extra flexibility at the wrist. It's just like, oh my god.
Are you referring to the tibula?
No, that was something that Nephi was talking about.
No, I was just making
the well-known taxon Australopithecus. The only known taxon to have a tibula, in fact.
Correct. Yeah.
Like stupidity almost aligned there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing, like watching them attempt to piece together bits of literature that they misread into an almost coherent argument is it's almost like art,
Almost is generous.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, so we're approaching the 2-hour mark. So what is going on you guys's all y'all's channels in the near future?
I'm not entirely sure. So there was a guy on one of Aaron's shows on the Blasphemers Bible, and he emailed me and he said, I want to debate the entire panel on evolution. And so I talked to this
Jeez.
to Aaron about this, and he said if he can come up with an accurate definition of evolution, then I'll consider it.
All right.
And
Send him to me and Jackson. We're like easy mode.
that
Yeah,
was
seriously,
was my question actually. So would you be interested in talking to him? He's
Yeah.
you
absolutely.
can look him up on YouTube. He's called Aboriginal Power.
Okay.
That's
interesting.
his his
Okay,
channel on
that's a name.
YouTube.
Is he like a Tasmanian or something?
No.
We're sure it's not like Aboriginal Power Truth Official or something, right?
No, he does have another name on his YouTube channel. I forgot what it was.
It's got to have either truth or official in there. Otherwise, he's not a real young Earth creationist.
Almost
That's the
certainly.
latest.
Correct.
Yeah.
You wouldn't know it's true unless they had truth in the name.
Well, so what I have been doing for the last few years is every single time I get a guest on, I do an intake because I'm not interested in dumpster fires or people just destroying your entire show. So I'm going to have an intake with this guy too before I even refer him to anyone else. I'll let you guys know if he's
Okay.
if he's a guy you can actually talk to. We can set that up.
Dapper and I don't think we've ever had like a straight up dumpster fire with a
Nope.
person we've talked to. Yeah, I don't think we have. Our conversations are always pretty cordial, and
Well,
to be fair, I have at certain points taken breaks to just like go pour a tall glass of liquor.
Oh, sure, and
in
that's
order to keep myself cordial.
well, yeah, but we don't like it. Never devolves into like us yelling at each other or anything like that.
Yeah, I think the closest ever
and
came
that-
was my rant about how you're not a skeptic, you're a denier.
I do
and
remember. Yes.
Yeah.
And that's one of the signs that I look for. This guy was all caps in chat. So
Of
Oh,
course.
that usually is either a sign of someone not being familiar with how to conduct in a chat, or it could be a very bad thing. Entirely.
Also, like
I don't
the one guy you talked to like a while ago, like many weeks ago, the like he wasn't he interested in talking about the origins of eukaryotes at one point, maybe just
Jeremy Spry. Yeah, we were supposed to
Yeah.
have like a second. Well, I know he said he was busy. He's
Oh, yeah,
life
yeah.
gets in the way and everything, and that's fine. But yeah, we talked for a little bit. Well, I think I basically just talked at him at that point, and he was like, "Those are interesting points. I will look into that." And that was kind of the end of that part of the conversation. But yeah, I think he said he was busy last time. I remember Dapper and I talking to him, but I don't know anything.
That would be a guy
Oh.
that I would like to have a chat with. Not about
Yeah, he was nice.
evolution, but about religion. He seems
nice
like
guy. I
a
liked it.
good guy to talk to.
Yeah, absolutely. Dapper, what's going on in your channel in the near future? What you got?
Oh goodness. Let's see. Let me open up a little calendar here. So on the 10th, I am doing my Illuminati extravaganza because it's Dapper Reacts 33, and as we all know, 33 is the number of the Illuminati Masons or something. I don't. It doesn't make any sense to me, but crazy conspiracy theories think that the number 33 is super significant for some dumb reason.
Okay.
So yeah, that's what we're going with. That's on the 10th, and then after that, I believe that I will probably be on Cheshire's channel doing the next like news dump that we do. Although I do have to double check with that because I might be wrong about that. So that's a maybe. Not because it's actually a maybe, but because I don't remember. Let's see. Tuesday will be Kent with Bent 11D4.
9,000?
No, 11D4, I believe.
Oh, okay.
Or maybe 11D3. I don't know. It's something like that, right?
It's a
So
few.
it's going to be Evil Kent Rise. It'll be the final one of our Evil Dead type shows. We're
Okay.
just going through all the movies. We're ignoring the TV show, but whatever.
Gotcha.
I remember you made
Ben
a
says
series like,
11D3.
in reference to Harry Potter, where you like put Kent Hoven's face on like a Harry Potter poster, and like there's one particular thumbnail that you made, and I found like that thumbnail was cursed by Voldemort. Like it doesn't. It looks terrifying with the Kent Hoven plastered on the face of Harry Potter like that.
Yeah. Let's see. That's Tuesday. And then on the 15th, I'm going to be releasing the second of my 3-part series about Roger from Mud Fossil U's take on quantum physics.
Oh no.
Yeah, so when it comes to the mud fossil stuff, I don't really care because it's literally all just pareidolia, right? That's literally the only thing there. So I'm not going to make like a video where I'm like, nope, you just think that kind of vaguely looks like a fish, so you think it's a fish. No, you just think that kind of vaguely looks like an eyeball, so you think it's an eyeball. Because that's just going to be the same thing. Because everything he talks about with the mud fossils is just pareidolia.
Yeah.
However, when he got to quantum mechanics, he started having all these crazy ideas, like an electron is actually like a photon plus an electron or something. But then it's like, okay, but that electron would also be a photon plus an electron. So now you have infinite mass electrons because you just created an infinite reversion, right? So like... Yeah. And then like talking like he can't tell the difference between neutrinos and the various. So there are numerous kinds of neutrinos, right? Like there's an electron neutrino, there's a there's like a muon neutrino, right? He can't tell the difference between the neutrinos and the other particles that they're named for. Okay. And they're named for these because they're produced in reactions that also involve these other particles, right? So like a muon neutrino is associated with muon interactions. Okay, cool. So yeah, that'll be on Thursday, part 2 of that. It's a 3-part series. So
I loved your Sanford series. That one was great.
Thank you. The supercut for that should be coming out on the 29th, I believe.
Nice.
And also that reminds me, so you're familiar with the term bitch made, right?
I think so. I think I've heard of that.
That's an old 2010s.
Yeah, so that's where someone has said that they will come to some discussion or debate or something, and then rather than doing
they chickened out.
Yeah, they chickened out. Now, Sal Cordova, as a result of that series, has been bitch made for 52 days, 8 hours, 34 minutes, and 29 seconds.
Oh, right, because I gotcha.
Because he said, "Oh, I'll be there to watch it, and I'll respond." And
yes,
he never watched any of them.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, now he's having like insane rants on like his channel and stuff like that. He's just you've just driven him to madness as a result of your series.
Of his last like 5 videos, I think 4 of them have had my name in them, and pretty much all of them have had Barney the dinosaur on the thumbnail.
Yeah.
So like,
you've just driven him to utter madness. You destroyed that man.
All I had to do was point out that John Sanford's I won't say that. That John Sanford
a fibber. We'll say a fibber.
Yeah, he's a fibber. or a gigantic moron.
Yeah,
one of those.
Right.
Speaking about driving people to madness, my dog just discovered Dapper on screen and is now frantically looking all across the room, see if he can get any closer. Because
well, that's cute. So yeah, then just basically do that and say like, hey, if you want to respond, you should watch. He's like, no, I'm not going to watch because you're insulting my friend. Like, you're right, I am. But if you want to respond to that, you're going to have to know what I said about him.
Which is so bizarre because, like, literally everyone else, even, like, Standing for Truth will, like, watch a video about someone who, like, insults him or whatever. Even he'll do that. It's really weird to say I won't watch it because you insult someone I know. That's super weird. Imagine if we did that. We'd, like, watch nothing. Right?
Yeah, it would be very hard because remember, guys, the only reason anyone believes in evolution is because you're horny.
Correct.
It's the only reason. It's like, oh man, I really want to just sleep around with all of the people, but I can't because I don't believe that, as a Ceratosaurus, that I'm related to, say, Majungasaurus.
Okay, listen here,
So I
Nestlig.
can't.
Listen here. I was there. I was around. I've heard that phrase. I just didn't know specifically what it meant. Don't come at me.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
I have been graced with a bitch-made clock that counts up the time from the premiere of my first Stanford video.
Uh-huh.
And that was gifted to me by Vishanti, who went and set it up. So I shout out to her. I really appreciate that because it's pretty hilarious. But yeah, that basically takes us out to a week from today. So that's as far out as I want to go.
That's okay. That's okay. Neat. On this channel, I have today started drafting the Salamander's Tail, which is we're finally leaving the amniotes and moving on to the amphibians.
Nice.
So yeah, we what was it? So yeah, when you mentioned at the beginning, like the difference between like the sensu lato versus sensu stricto for birds, that's also a thing we're going to talk about with amphibians, because there's a big debate as to whether, like, does Lis amphibia fall within the temnospondals? Do temnospondals fall within Lis amphibia? Are they just stem, stem, stegocephalians or tetrapods or what have you? So those are all things we're going to be talking about. So fun.
I did the whole talk with Van Dalia on that very topic as well. Like almost a year ago by now, like 9 months ago, I did a talk about amphibians. Yeah.
Okay. Well, we're going to be discussing all that sort of stuff in the Salamander's Tail, as well as whatever the Salamander's Tail actually is, which is like the problem of continuity within taxonomy. So that'll be fun. Yes.
I need to mention 2 more things. So first of all, okay. I need to thank Artemis Brain Sample for his trying to rescue me when my internet cut out. But now I just checked Twitter and he said I should be called assistant producer for this show at least. And then I looked at the conversation that you and Artie had while my internet was off. So my sincere apologies for how he actually tried to get in touch with you, because that was just silly.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah, but he wasn't really clear in what happened. And so I get it that you didn't get
We're here now.
that the internet was down here. So I shall talk to him in very strong words.
Also, Dapper, you may or may not remember this, but like a few years ago now, because that's how long we've known each other, you asked me to do a video on parasitic barnacles. Well, I'm sure you'll be delighted to know there is a barnacle's tail in the Ancestor's Tail.
Oh, good. Although I do think I said crustaceans more broadly.
I remember I have a note.
Maybe it was.
I have a note on my list of videos that says for Dapper.
Okay. Hey, then you probably remember it better than I do, because I did not write that down.
But yeah.
But let's be fair. Parasitic barnacles are the best parasitic crustaceans.
And this is the show
where Dendrogaster a barnacle.
This is the show where we learned that Jackson is like Darth Dawkins and takes notes on people.
It's true. I do. I took that note just because I had written on the list of like video topics, like parasitic barnacles or something like that for Dapper, and then when I started doing the Ancestor's Tail, I was like, oh hey, there's a barnacle's tail, so I'll just do that as it. So yeah,
it is okay. That's probably why I did it, because I wanted to get Dendrogaster in there, and Dendrogaster is in fact a barnacle.
Nice.
Yeah,
I think Saculina is like the big parasitic barnacle, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
What did you say, Nestle?
No. Sorry, I don't mean to interrupt.
Oh no, I didn't catch what you said.
I was first trying to say that someone in the live chat is asking about when is the pelagic tunicate's tail.
Never. They never get a tail. Never.
Those guys don't deserve a tail.
I actually hold on. Let me go look. Actually, I don't remember if the tunicates do have a tail. Let me go
But
look.
even if they get a tail, it should be about the sessile tunicates, the hardworking, God-fearing, patriotic American tunicates.
Nope, we skip right from Lamprey to
The
Lancelet.
couch potato tunicates.
Nice, get wrecked tunicates.
So Lancelets will get, or sorry, tunicates will get mentioned in the Lancelet's tail. We'll just sort of breeze past them, but yeah, that's about as.
No
As
positive.
much as they get.
How
No
old
doubts.
is the book, the Ancestor's Tale?
Well, the second edition came out in 2016, so
So it may have been updated about the tunicate relationship with
It-
it.
yeah. He also has like the Xenocoelamates are like basal to the other bilaterian clades and some things like that. There is interestingly, there's some other stuff that like. Sadly, there's only one tail for the unicellular eukaryotes. There's only a single tail for them, which is very sad.
Aw.
It's the coenoflagellates, then we jump all the way down to plants next. So
Also, fantastic comment by Smitty. Nothing is more American than being sessile.
Exactly. See?
that's very true.
Smitty
Alrighty.
gets it.
So, well, we're going to wrap it up. So thank you, everybody who watched in the live chat. And thank you guys for coming. Appreciate you. It's fun having you. We should do this again sometime, preferably on a Thursday at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So,
Preferably at the time that we dedicated for it.
yeah.
Wait, are we supposed to be doing these based on the Central Standard Time? Because in that case,
I
we were
think-
like an hour and a half late.
Or maybe it was, oh, no, maybe it's Central, or what is it? Central Daylight Saving Time or whatever?
Well, yeah, you're currently in Central Daylight Time.
That's right. Yeah, okay. You're right. Okay. Alrighty. So, well, bye, everybody. Thank you for coming.
Bye, everyone.